call the open board meeting of Tuesday, September 5th, 2017 to order. I'd like to let the trustees know that trustee Rob Hutchins has been detained at his school. It is opening day for him as well, so hopefully he will join us later. I'd like to respectfully acknowledge that we're meeting on the traditional and ancestral lands of the Coast Salish people and move to adoption of the agenda. Moved by trustee Schmidt, seconded by trustee Thorne. Any conversation? All those in favor? Motion carries. Moving to the minutes of June 6th open board meeting. Moved by trustee Schmidt, seconded by trustee Thorne. All those in favor? Motion carries. Moving to minutes of June 29th, 2017. Special open board meeting. Moved by trustee DeGrace, seconded by trustee Dolman. All those in favor? Motion carries. Moving to recognition and delegations, and Bill 28 recognition. And I think what we want to do is, first of all, thank all of our staff for being open today so well in every one of the schools across the district. All of our staff pulled in to make that happen, and we really want to thank everyone. But there was a crew that spent all summer hammering, moving, repairing, connected, finding waterways, cleaning, all kinds of things. And it is just amazing that we have 60 new classrooms ready to go. And Director Monroe Grove, would you like to come forward, just so that we can officially look like we're recognizing
I'd rather
you?
not.
On behalf of the Board of Education, thank you so much for getting us up and going. Thank you.
Our pleasure.
Appreciate that so much. Thank you. Okay, that's the end of your thanks.
Moving on, over to the meeting.
Okay, report of closed meeting, Secretary Treasurer, please.
Thank you. Prior to this open meeting, the board met in closed session and had some personnel, property access, and a district boundary issue to discuss.
Thank you. Moving to old business, the action list on page 12. Anything that staff wishes to comment on? Then trustees, trustee Schmidt.
I wonder if we could talk about the policy review. There was a lot of changes, a lot of stuff that needs to be folded in, whether it's to the rule of the board or to bylaws or. And because staff are slammed and have been slammed with Bill 28 and everything else, I'm wondering what the possibilities could be if we had somebody else to finish that, because the board is governed by policies, and some of those policies that we were switching up are still staying in limbo, and that has me concerned. So I would like to entertain a motion, if somebody will second it, that we hire somebody to finish the policy revision for the board
As a draft.
as a draft.
Yes, thank you. Moved by trustee Schmidt, seconded by trustee Thorne. Further discussion on the motion. I think all the trustees are quite aware that through trustee Schmidt and secretary treasurer's work in the past, we took a delve in and deleted a lot of policies and put out a lot of policies that needed updating. And it's been sitting there for a long time because we don't have the capability really as the working group to go back and look at it. So I will be supporting the motion.
Just a question. Not sure how this fits into what order, but is the intent of the motion to require someone to be hired or to hire someone if necessary? Or bring back a plan that may include a contract person or
Trustee Shaw?
Yes to the latter.
So is that a friendly amendment to the wording a bit, if necessary?
Yes,
Yes. Okay.
but not by superintendent.
Okay, further discussion on the motion. All those in favor? Motion carries. Anything else on the action list? Okay, moving to strategic priorities, and this is just a reminder to share with your PACs and your organization liaisons our strategic priorities. And I have now asked Gina to set up the delegation presentations that we will have to local governments. So dates will be forthcoming. Moving to social media. Over to Superintendent.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just draw your attention to the fact that, and there's a briefing note for you for your information. On page 13, we now have thank you, Katie, a functioning Facebook page that we have been after and you have been wanting for a while. There's a note there explaining how that works, as well as the Facebook moderation guidelines that we've put together that really follow from our investigation. When I say our, I mean Katie's investigation of what other districts are doing and how they're managing their Facebook pages and those kinds of things. And a bit of a sample from Langley, but ours is up and running now, so you don't have to look at a sample, you can just look at ours. And I know that there was over 200 likes, is that the term, I think? Likes a couple of days after it was up and running. So.
Finger got tired.
Just for your information, happy to answer any questions.
Trustee Cross?
I noticed that we're not doing any, and suitably so, commercial postings. So Katie hasn't found a way to turn off the commercials though yet, has she? The ads? There's just that we won't be posting any
Which ads?
Facebook ads.
We can't, I don't think we can control
You
the
can't.
Facebook ads, no,
Okay.
but
So
what
they,
that means more is, outside school resources that aren't connected to district wouldn't be able to promote on our page the sale, but I'll take those down. And we would be promoting the sale of kind of privately owned resources or businesses unless it's a partnership and all of that would be appropriate.
thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions on social media? Okay, moving to Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Allen.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. Let's start with personnel. We have a lot of new faces in the room, and as is our practice, to bring those forward to the board to introduce you to one another and hopefully have some more opportunities this year. There was one earlier at Trustee Groot's house where people could, trustees and principals, vice principals, and senior staff could get together. Super well received. Hopefully there's more opportunities like that, but we'll take this opportunity to formally introduce some folks to you. Work around the crowd a little. I see Brent hanging over there. Maybe we'll start with Brent. Brent Ranger is the principal at Discovery Elementary, and he comes to us from up north, from Fort St. John. Welcome, Brent.
Thank you very much. I promise I'll bring the snow.
Appreciate that.
I think Deb brought it.
She did, I
I bet you we had more snow closure days than you guys did. Camilla Bandari Arscott comes to us from Maple Bay and is now the vice principal at Drinkwater. Welcome, Camilla. Claire Whitney, the elusive Claire Whitney, who came for 2 weeks last year and stayed for 6 months. Claire Whitney is the vice principal of the Quam campus for college and secondary. Claire. Del Morgan is our new vice principal at Lake Cowichan School. She comes to us from Saanich School District with a little stop off in the independent world.
Just to see what it was like.
Just to see what it was like.
I got my senses back.
Come over to the light side. Sandra Buckland is vice principal at Coalmount Provost. Welcome, Sandra. She was previously a teacher at Coalmount Provost. Tim Yalagan is the district principal of support services. He too comes to us from Fort St. John. Where are we? There we go. Lawrence Weston, vice principal at Alexander, a new position created by the board. Vice principal at Alexander Elementary, and previous to that he was at Alexander as a teacher last year. Before that was in Ontario. So can't count sort of one of us before he joined. Colleen Mullen is next. Colleen Mullen is vice principal at Open Learning and Alternate Ed and DL. She comes from quite a similar position, where she was principal of that same sort of basket of things in Merritt. So led the forest fires and came last. Oh, hi, Chris.
Hi.
And Chris, you all know. Next we have Julie Smith.
I'm glad you all came, right here by myself.
For our folks that don't know Chris, Chris is the president of the Lake Cowichan Teachers Association. Is one of the co-presidents of our Teachers Association. Where was it? Julie. Hey, Julie. Julie's vice principal of Coheman, the second new position that the board created for extra support at Coheman and Alexander. And Julie, of course, was a teacher at Coheman for a couple of years. So welcome. Next we have Ashley Bell. Ashley is vice principal at Maple Bay Elementary. Ashley comes to us from all long distance away at Chemainus Secondary, so she made the trip from Chemainus and from secondary to elementary, so welcome Ashley. Jenny Hittinger is the new vice principal at Chemainus Secondary, and she was at Chemainus Secondary before that.
Yeah, and no one else.
Everybody. These are the trustees. So what started out to be, we thought, a relatively minor set of hiring became 11. If you count Claire. I mean, she doesn't feel new, she feels battle weary. Almost a quarter. So that's kind of cool. 4 people from away, the rest are internal. Also strikes a pretty good balance. And we welcome them all here. We had our first principals and vice principals 2-day session, and they are not quiet. As
You guys came into the room about, they're all
So we set up an icebreaker, and we ended up having to, that didn't need it at all. That's a really good sign. Great advocates for kids, great teachers, great educators, all of them. It's great for our team, for our district, and our kids to have them with us. So thank you for picking us and putting your hand up.
And on behalf of the board, for those who have come new, welcome. We are really delighted that you've chosen Cowichan Valley to be here, and those internal people, we're delighted that you're stepping up to a leadership position that works as part of a whole district admin team, which we consider ourselves to be part of. So we look forward to getting to know you better, and Britt too. And we look forward to hearing about all the wonderful things that happen in your schools. Thank you.
And you can flee if you choose. I know on the first day of school, I appreciate you coming out because I know you're not meeting partners there. Where are they? Appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, somebody has to stay.
Thanks, Chris.
Back to you, Superintendent.
For board information, as the numbers are beginning to come in, especially from elementary, although caution on numbers, it's 2 hours into the first day, and there's more we don't know than we do know. However, it's looking like we are seeing more students than we anticipated. That's a great thing. We anticipated or estimated around 30, a little over 30 new students to the district this year, and we're coming close to 100. That's not counting secondary yet. So, but we also haven't been able to sort of account for the students who've left us yet. So that will balance a bit, but and growth that we're seeing really across the district, but a lot in the north and a lot in the south. Seems to be the two hotspots for us. Chemainus Crofton, even the lake is seeing a really interesting growth in kindergarten, which is really positive news. And then at the south end as well. And what's also interesting about the numbers so far is that they're spread across the elementary grades. It's not last year sort of saw a cluster sort of in grades 1 to 3. This is pretty evenly spread across all the elementary grades. So we will keep you updated on that as those numbers come in. We're checking with a number of schools again tomorrow. We'll check with all schools on Thursday, and Thursday is the first day we'll see secondary numbers. But those will continue to be fairly preliminary over the first week or so of secondary. Get all those kids back and into schedules and timetables and things if they haven't already done that.
Great news. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Just want to talk a little bit about Bill 28 before we congratulate Monroe too much. No, please.
Give it back.
I don't want to reiterate what the board chair said, but it was truly a Herculean effort this summer by all kinds of folks. And what made it really challenging and interesting was the fact that the game changed every other day. It seemed that there was something new and unanticipated, like wildfires in the interior, that got trucks hung up that were delivering moving portables, or crews pulled off to go to work, crews from the moving company, the contractors, and so on. Just all kinds of really interesting things that would have figured. However, of the 60 new classroom spaces, I think we opened today with about 57 of them up and running. And that's quite remarkable. Monroe and his crew for the month of September, or starting now sort of for as long as it takes, we anticipate the month of September, have their crews fully on Bill 28 classroom. What do you need? How can we get it for you? How can we do that? Whatever. With that amount of movement, that amount of building that happened, just making sure the little things get done. Did you get the bookshelf you wanted? If not, work order comes in and says Bill 28, and the work order gets dealt with. So his crew on full on managing those things, which sometimes in the big scheme of things seem small. If you're a teacher in a classroom who needs the whatever it is, those can be pretty big. So it's how can we make that as easy as possible.
Excuse me a moment, Trustee Schmidt.
Also, I'd like to say thank you to the superintendent and Mr. Group over there for taking us on a tour of the schools. Because I need to acknowledge the fact that the positive administrators, even though their buildings were in chaos, I mean, Drinkwater Elementary was in chaos. And everybody was so positive, it was really refreshing to see that they were excited. But I do have a question on Bill 28 that's been bothering me for a while, and I don't know why I didn't ask the question. So we've opened all these new classrooms, which has increased our custodian time, which has increased our electrical bill, which has increased several things. Will there be compensation within the Bill 28 money to cover all of those extra costs, or have we already rolled those extra costs into our forecasted budget for this school year?
So the Bill 28 money came with an overhead piece, approximately $400,000. That was separate from just the staffing. And in that, we had allocated some extra custodial time, which may turn out not to be sufficient. We're just, I know that the custodial supervisor is working through that allotment right now on the various assignments. One of the things that you haven't received your financial statements yet from the conclusion of the 2016-2017 year, but one of the recommended restrictions was to hold back a little bit of extra funding from surplus for Bill 28, because we do think there's going to be some other hot spots. There is certainly the furniture has cost more than was estimated. There's technology requirements that might be more than what we originally had thought, custodial time, so clerical time, as those start to materialize and we actually get a better handle on the real costs, there's some restriction line within that surplus within the financial statements right now to help build a little contingency.
Thank you. Follow-up question?
So I'm really concerned about electrical, to be quite honest, because that's going to spike. And along with all of these other costs, is this anything that we can make the government aware of to say, hey, you know, this is great that you gave us the teachers' money, you gave us $400,000, but these are our actual costs, and
So is there any reckoning for actual costs at some point?
Not that we're aware of, not at this point. We had the issue around the sick leave coming out of the overhead allotment earlier, and I know trustees had conversations with other trustees and government officials about that, and we were told that's the extra allotment. There's no relationship towards the overhead piece. Doesn't appear to have a relationship to the number of classrooms or teachers that you require. It appears to have more of a relationship to the size of your school district for the overhead piece of the Bill 28 funding. How fair that is, I'm not sure. Certainly half of our overhead we think is going to go just into sick leave and absenteeism replacement. But at this point there hasn't been any other provision. We were lucky, even with the worst winter most of us can remember in recent memory, that we were still under budget on our utilities. So I think there's still some room within those budgets that's currently set aside by the board, but it certainly tends to be closer and closer to that. You know, the contingency is going to go away rather quickly as we open more classrooms. But some of the space was already in use as well. It may not have been used as a teaching classroom, but it was an LA room, or it was an art room, or it was a music room. So it was already functioning. I guess also do teaching, but I meant by like classroom non-enrolling or enrolling. So it's not all brand new space either.
Thank you. Do you have a follow-up?
I wonder if, as a board, once we know what these costs are, the board should actually write a formal letter to MOE just to state these are the costs that in creating, I think it's great with great holistic classrooms and we've got teachers and our kids that, I think it's wonderful, however, if they're gonna fund it, I would like to see them. So I don't know if maybe that's something that we should look at once October meeting comes around, is if we have a better idea then, maybe it might be an idea for the board to write a letter just letting them know the extra costs that they're not gonna.
Thank you. Are you reporting the extra costs as they develop?
We are. We're putting everything through the Bill 28 fund presently, just so that we do have an accurate reporting of it. We know that it may not be able to afford everything that we're putting in there, but we're putting it there as a starting point.
Thank you.
Just so we know.
So back in October.
And I think, so, as the Secretary Treasurer said, some of those long-term ongoing things that are forever, I'm not sure they were really, how well they were contemplated. The initial funding for Bill 28, so that's a great point. Just going to add, so I think I'm done with Monroe. But again, just stellar work, and then Monroe's crew has had to interface not only with the contractors but also with our tech guys, so that as classrooms get finished, then the tech crew can go in and put in wireless and get the internet working and all those kinds of things that they need to do as well. So all that sort of has happened or is in the process of happening this week as folks are moving out of buildings, painters are finishing, wireless routers and things are going in, and so it's been and Glenn's crew are kind of on the same model as Monroe's, right? Priorities going right now to getting those things finished up, whatever So that's awesome. I think we're in great shape. It's very likely we will be adding more teachers, having looked at the numbers this morning. That'd be cool. So far we have done very well in the hiring end of things. We are lucky we're a lovely place to live, and housing is quite affordable compared to many parts of the Lower Mainland. And we don't get as much snow as up north, so as we look at the teachers that we hired, brand new teachers, many of those came from afar into the valley. And so and we will need to increase our marketing of ourselves as a destination district for people to come, because it will get harder and harder as we move through this process over the next couple of years. Why here? Almost all the teachers that we hired had multiple offers. Certainly most of the principals and vice principals that we hired had multiple offers on the table at the same time. So it's good. We need to be competitive. That's an awesome thing.
Before you go on, could you just talk about the EAs, because last year it's this time we were really struggling in that area, and have we filled most of those positions, or how's that going?
Well, they're not all filled right now because the assignment meeting was delayed until June 30th, which used to happen in May, which means we're in the expedited posting process, which typically would have happened prior to the conclusion of the school year. We certainly have been recruiting and hiring more EAs over the summertime, so we don't anticipate the same situation as last year. No, last year was a 43% increase in the number of students with designations, which sort of led to all the new positions all at once and all in the month of September. So we've been planning that it was unexpected that we would grow that quickly in that area. So that growth isn't anticipated again, another 43% this September by September 30th in all these new positions. So I think that we're in a better place, much better place than we were last year.
We continue to hire. Vanessa and her team have been busy and hiring, but again, there's always the September piece of new kids walking in the door, and we didn't anticipate and working that out. I think we're in better shape than we were last year. Are we in perfect shape? I would say not, but we're in way better shape than last year.
Thank you, Trustee Thorne.
Yeah, I'm glad, I'm really happy to hear a lot of this information that you're giving out, and maybe the possibilities of. But I think looking down the road, we need to really be extra conscious around the budget time, because it is short. When you talk to new teachers, we're looking at new things. When we talk about cost of furniture, we're going to need more of everything. So all this is really giving me an eye-opening that we need to really be very stringent with the next budget season. That's it in a nutshell.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's it on up. Oh, I was going to say the other piece that has been a really interesting feature in our schools, and I think we're starting to see it play out this week a little bit, is because of the number of positions that came out on the board essentially last spring for teachers. Teachers had to make a conscious decision for probably the first time in I don't know how many years here to either stay or to go. Go to a new assignment. I've always wanted to try grade 4 at such and such school, or to stay where they are. Whereas often those choices aren't around. They're far more restrictive with the number of openings. So we have there were some surprising moves around, and as you'll wander in and out of schools, you'll see a bunch of people in different places because they've chosen to do that, and that's kind of exciting. The more people you have in the jobs that they have selected, the better things are. So that's kind of an interesting side bonus, side benefit of this process. For board action, bring to your attention, I know it feels a bit early, but just the way the board meetings work. World Teachers Day happens on October the 5th every year, and in the past the board has made a motion to recognize that and asked us to put something in the paper, and we do some recognition with staff as well. If that is to occur, we would need that motion to happen now.
by trustee Drew, seconded by trustee Schmidt. Any comments? All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank
All
you.
I have.
Moving to secretary treasurer, Mr. Segmest.
Thank you. I have two items this evening. The first one is a report briefing note on the district foundation for information. We were asked at a previous meeting that district staff look into the possibility of a foundation or similar format that would direct donations to the district. That's one of the board's strategic priorities under the finance and operations area. So we tried to lay out here what a foundation is. It's a registered charity with the purpose of providing grants or gifts to the following qualified donees. So it's a charity that gives to other types of charities. What types of foundations are there? There are private and public. A foundation that would be considered by the school district would be a public foundation. And the formation of that foundation would potentially have trustees or school district staff on the board of directors, although not in a majority role. In a majority role, it would no longer be a separate entity. It would really be inclusive of the board's regular operation. The purpose of the foundation is to raise funds and to receive funding and to have endowments and then to fund specific projects as the board of directors see fit. Could also manage the scholarship fund as we started to look at some of the other foundations around the province. Some of them expand into some of the district's regular operations, such as managing the scholarship funds. In one example, they hold a single scholarship event for their entire district that's facilitated through the foundation.
Trustee Schmidt.
I know that we thought this was a really good idea at the time, but I always like the fact that we're already a charitable group, and I'm wondering if that's what we should be pushing and letting go of the foundation idea. I think that we probably have more success as what we already have than trying to build something new in light of the research that's been done.
So a question and back to your report, it says that's your recommendation, correct?
Correct. My recommendation is that with more promotion of the district as a charity through our new social media outreach, if it grows to something that could be managed at a foundation level, maybe that's the time to transfer it into a foundation.
Okay, so do we need a motion to that effect? Trustee Croft? So moved. Moved by trustee Croft, seconded by trustee Thorne. Any discussion on the motion? Trustee DeGroot?
Did we have a motion to have a foundation?
It was to investigate this.
Any further comments? All those in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you.
And I hope that our communications specialist is able to take us forward.
I'll try.
Second item, as we're really about 10 months away from the BC Summer Games, we thought that we would put a standing item on the agenda just to sort of let you know how that's progressing, and because the board is involved as a major partner. It's expected that the board of directors of the BC Summer Games they're considering doing a monthly update, monthly newsletter, which we could include here or bring to your attention this evening. The board made a decision around allowing the access to Duncan Primary for the BC Summer Games head office. So that's some information that we can provide to the public at this meeting. That's an update for this week, this month. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Moving to item 9, committees and outside organizations. The first is the advisory committee meeting minutes. Trustee Croft.
I'd like to move that the Board of Education of School District 79, Couch Valley, receives the summary of the June 13th, 2017 advisory committee meeting.
Thank you. Moved by trustee Croft, seconded by trustee DeGroot. All those in favor? Motion carries. Moving to BCSDA Provincial Council motions. Trustee DeGroot.
Well, we have it.
No.
So that is just to tell you that they are accepting, if you have any. And I did send them out a long time ago, the ones that came from For BCST.
Anything further on provincial council?
I have not received
Thank you. Moving to upcoming meetings and events on page 25. Trustee Schmidt?
My only question is when is DSAP firing up? I haven't seen an email or anything, and I'd really like to get that rolling in my calendar.
Mr. Superintendent?
Madam Chair, they typically don't meet in September, but we know that the last year's group also typically don't meet in June either, but they did.
Yeah.
So, we'll get hold of the last year's chair and see what his wishes are. I wouldn't be surprised if they want to get moving.
Thank you. Trustee DeGroot and then Mr. Sen.
the committee that I'm now on. I don't know what it's called. First Nations. I don't know when they meet. I don't know when they.
Aboriginal.
I don't know that the meetings have been scheduled yet for this year. Usually meet about once a month.
Thank you. Mr. Sen.
And the audit committee is preliminarily planned for 3 p.m. We'll just need to confirm with the members.
3 p.m.
Oh, sorry, on September 26th.
Oh.
It's
Okay.
here, but
Today.
I just didn't have the time.
Thank you. Anything further on the schedule? Okay, moving to question period.
It's all on you, Bruce.
Thank you, and same to you. Okay, moving to adjournment. Trustee DeGroot and Trustee Drummond. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you, and welcome back to a new school year.
Yeehaw.